Hello, dear friends. During the Jordan expedition, somebody told me, come, you must see this video. It's about the Tesla something device. And I sat and watched how, under the pretext of delivering alternative media news, they suck out people's psychic energy and effectively even groom them for the dark side. So, this super booper Tesla something device could cure one from all sicknesses, could take one through time portals to other planets, and pretty much anything else you can imagine. And to make the content even more mesmerizing and real looking, they made it in the form of an interview, allegedly with somebody insider from the dark side. An insider who allegedly worked for them. Who are them? The bunch of criminals, parasites, whom for some unknown reason in this video they were after every 3 words referring to them as elites. Not a very suitable name after all. How about calling the things with their real names if they are really an alternative media? And a very high-tech one with glamorous studio and all that. If they're really into putting the truth out there, they should be calling the things with their real names. But people don't care. This is a minor detail. The most important is this thrill. They're mesmerized by the super fantastic device. Their attention is caught. And they don't understand that at this very moment they're being subtly groomed to swallow up this situation with the dark side controlling their psyche, sucking their psychic energy right at this moment because they listen and absorb this glorification of the technocratic dark side which can do all these fantastic things. And he, the poor peasant slave in this modern plutocratic society, feels more and more helpless compared to all these high-tech miracles which the so-called elites have, and who, by the way, have kindly sponsored all these so-called alternative videos for you so that they make you think that, okay, I'm helpless, but at least I can hear about what are the possibilities. I surely cannot have that, but at least I will know what's going on. And so the poor listener falls into this trap. Clap. He's a victim now. He is taken one step further away from knowing the real truth. That with your own psychic powers, without the need of any machinery, you with proper training can do all the miracles of this Tesla something device. It is all question of training yourself. And the first and most important step in starting this training is to cut off all ways in which the dark side sucks out your energy. Your attention, your concentration, what you dwell on, the power of your thoughts, this is the most valuable thing you have. Because the way this reality is constructed is pretty much like a computer game. The objects which are at the background, they are very blurry, they're pixelated. But once you move your mouse, meaning your attention, the cursor on the screen, once you move it in direction to those objects, immediately they come to foreground. They gain more and more detail. They are not so pixelated. They become real. In the same way, although our lives are predestined by karma, we still have many choices and they wait there at the background. And depending on what we focus our attention, that path, that choice will come to the foreground. And when you put these seeds in your consciousness about the supremacy of the machines, of the technocratic way of life, this is what is gonna come in foreground in terms of events happening to you by chance, as if by chance in your life. That's why the parasites sponsor this type of videos to put you into this technocratic mindset so that you can accept the digital slavery as the only choice. But the unsuspecting viewers usually don't understand this. They think, what's wrong in just getting myself informed about what technology can do? Advanced technologies can do anything you can imagine and even more, period. And is this device with the alluring name Tesla something real or not is pretty much irrelevant to you because you're not gonna benefit from it, at least in a positive way. So you're not gonna learn anything actually new from this video, but this subtle lingering flavor idea will remain of accepting the dark side as the only way of life. Or you can see it from a different angle. If you meditate, if you give too much power to such thoughts in your psyche about this type of devices, you may encounter them. It becomes more likely. And how? Otrok Vyacheslav gave us an example. I don't know if this is gonna happen in our timeline, but it is a very good example. He said at the end times, when the Antichrist mingles openly with people, there will be really magical technical devices like small cabins, very similar to the phone booths. The people will enter in them sick and they will come out absolutely healthy and marked with the mark of the beast. And in the advertisements of these super booper phone booths for healing, somehow they will fail to mention that all the diseases that they cure were before that created in laboratories and spread by the parasites. They infected the people with them with the purpose to make them miserable and then put them into the booths to mark them. Now, let's get back to the example of zooming to the objects in the background in the digital game, the computer game. These digital games, they usually have different levels, and it is only at the higher levels for advanced users that this zooming gets very fast. For beginners, it is usually slower, otherwise they get overwhelmed and they can't cope with the situation. In the matrix of our existence, which has been created by the Supreme Consciousness for our education, it is absolutely the same. Those who play the game of life on lower levels, when they concentrate on something, when they start zooming by pointing their attention to a given part of the matrix, which will eventually convert into events happening to them by chance, the result will be very slow. How can one figure out on what level he plays the game of life? It's very easy if one is often in a depressed or sad state, if one feels revenge, anger, fear, or frustration very often, one gravitates towards the lower levels. And when during the entire day one literally feels how he radiates love and compassion, even to the most silly and confused people you can imagine, then one can know for sure that he plays the game at the higher levels, and his entire life is very, very clean as well. So for those who play at lower levels, this zooming is very slow. It means when they concentrate or something, when they give attention to something, the result may even come after a few lifetimes, so slow. While the more angelic qualities and understanding one develops, the results will be coming as soon as weeks, days or even hours of thinking something. So as the results come faster and faster, it becomes easier for one to figure out the connection between what did he create with his thoughts and what did show up on his door. And it will not always correspond one to one. Very often it will be something close but not the same. That is because the thought forms, before they turn into actual events, they get somewhat distorted through the prism of one's karma, the possibilities which one has in the given life. So, although somewhat different, they will be close enough for the person to start gradually uh, learning what does he create as a thought form and what is the result. So gradually he or she becomes more expert in modeling one's reality. As the person gains more practical on-hand experience of how the matrix function and how to order, so to say, events to happen, he or she even develops his vision to the point that they can see how these strings which pull the events work also for the people around them. And gradually they will see how the collective consciousness or the thought forms of all people on earth calls the world events to unfold in a given way. Once this type of vision develops, once they see clearly these strings which pull the karmic events, once you see something, you can also manipulate it. Again, to the extent your personal karma will allow, and also your personal power. Even though, for example, you see the strings which pull the world's events, you won't be able to pull those big strings because you don't have the rights to do so, as long as most of the people on earth collectively prefer to remain in ignorance and make up excuses for themselves, like we cannot change what those evil so-called elites on the top have for us. And until people continue to watch TV daily and drink alcohol very often, which are like the main anchors which keep them strongly cemented to this reality, this paradigm of helplessness, which is indeed true as long as they stick to it. As long as all this continues, the collective destiny will keep pointing towards hell. But since we all live in our personal realities, and the collective reality is just one small factor which cannot override our own thought forms, at the end, de facto, in hell will arrive only those who have caused hell to other people at some point of time, or those who had regularly made it the object of concentration, object of contemplation, sometimes aided by these so-called alternative media videos, which can be, in some cases, like guided meditations on hell. Thank you for listening to this. This was the first and most important lesson taught to me by Ayahuasca, the Great Spirit of the Amazon, when I approached her with the request to help me solve the pressing problems I had at that time in my life. She showed to me that God brings problems to people not because He expects them to scream and beg Him to remove them by His causeless mercy, but because He expects them to learn how to fight problems themselves. What is commonly known in the modern spirituality circles as the simple law of attraction is not wrong. It is just so simplified that in most cases it cannot provide practical help. Sometimes it may do even harm. If one really wants to become master of one's life and the events which happened to him, he will need to start perceiving directly how the matrix works. Hearing and believing things others said will not help much. Without this clear vision, one will feel enslaved and helpless forever, and he will be, for all practical purposes, helpless indeed, having cursed himself of being in this way. Until one continues to watch TV regularly and drink alcohol regularly, one will not know even where to start, what to speak of reaching anywhere. Because the television and the alcohol, they have this specific power that they breed people of very peculiar qualities and distorted belief systems. And once the value system is corrupted, one is lost. He or she may endeavor to do something good, like for example starting a spiritual practice, but he or she will reach nowhere, not having the discrimination of how to recognize the genuine spiritual practice.